So it's that time of the year again. We're coming to the close of an absolutely hectic 2023. It's the festive time, it's Christmas, it's year-end, it's celebrations and holidays. From M&A Properties, we want to wish all of you an absolutely bang-on end for this year. And I want to thank you once again for joining us on M&A Ambassadors, Becoming the USP, the Ultimate Sales Professional. Now, in this particular video, I would like to talk about closing approaches. What's the mindset that we need to develop as sales professionals to understand what actually happens in closing? And this will help us when we are able to approach the closing, develop the right confidence, and encourage the clients to take that closing decision quicker. Now, there are 4 things I'd like to talk about today just to help you understand closing. The first is this. Closing never happens at the end of the selling process. Nobody waits till the end of the process to decide whether they would like to have this particular property or not. They're actually making up their mind through different points of the selling process, which is the reason why if you want to ensure that you're on track for a good closure, you need to have your own feeling checks and fact checks built into your selling process. So from time to time, you are checking if the client is emotionally engaged and invested with you. So always remember, closing happens throughout the process. Don't put the pressure on yourself. That is one big decision at the end. Now, the second thing that we need to also remember is that clients actually, on an unconscious level, expect you, the salesperson, to help them to close. Now, why is that? You see, buying a home is not an easy decision. It is a significant investment. And particularly if I'm a first-time home buyer, I've never done this before. I might be taking a mortgage. It's a huge financial commitment. So I really don't know if I'm making the best choice here. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm never going to tell you that. In essence, all my body language, my mindset could be, hey, help me to take the right decision. You have met so many home buyers, hundreds of them, but it is my first experience. Help me so that I can have a good home. So clients will, on an unconscious level, expect that you, the salesperson, should take the initiative. Never allow for silence to enter into the sales transaction towards the end. Which brings us to the third point to keep in mind when it comes to closing. You see, a lot of salespeople do not actually ask for the close. 73% of sales meetings do not end with a call to close. What does this mean? A salesperson will be all energized at the beginning of the process. They'll go through the rapport building, the qualifying, the presenting, the objection handling, and then comes that high tension moment. Because salespeople believe that closing is actually happening at the end, never happens at the end, they put the pressure on themselves. And then it's the moment of truth, that crunch moment. So they are not sure how to ask for it. So a gap comes into the meeting. There's a silence that comes in. Very bad. Because when the silence comes in, clients are not actually convincing themselves to go ahead with the deal. They're actually thinking how to get out of the deal. So we should never do that. We should actually go ahead and ask. Because remember, the mind is being made up already during the process, and clients on an unconscious level are expecting the salesperson to help with the closure. So we don't allow the silence, and we actually go ahead and simply ask, so how would you like to move ahead with this? The fourth thing that we need to keep in mind when closing is that clients are not going to tell you yes immediately at the first invitation. You could have a few people, but most people don't. 3 to 5 attempts at closing will be required during the selling process before the client is reassured enough to give you a confident yes. So where are the places that you could ask for the close? Right after you have presented the solution. If you're giving them 2 options, you would be telling the client, from what you told me and based on what you saw when we visited the show apartment, these are the 2 best options that work for you. You'll present option 1 and you'll present option 2. And right after you do that, just simply ask, which one would you like to go for? Or which one do you like more? And then from there, you can approach the closing. Every time there is an objection that is being raised and you answer the objection, simply check how they feel about the answer. Just ask, take the name of the client. So Ahmed, does that answer your question satisfactorily? And if they say, well, yeah, that answers my question. So, well, in that case, why don't we just finish the paperwork on this so I can tell you what happens next? So every time you answer an objection and the feedback is good, go with the closing attempt. Another closing attempt, by the way, we don't see it as a closing, but it actually is. When you qualify the client, you summarize the qualifying and then you tell the client, from what you told me, you are interested in 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for that, you could invest up to X amount of money and you could make a decision this week. Is that correct? And if they tell you yes, you've actually closed them out on what their actual requirement is. So as long as you do a pulse check, a feeling check at multiple points in the selling process, you will find at the end is never closing. It's just a wrap up. We start the selling process with warm up. We will end it with a wrap up. I want to thank you and wish you the very best for a festive season. Thank you for joining us once again on M&A Ambassadors, Becoming the USP, the Ultimate Sales Professional.